Coming up on Bridges today, you'll meet my guest who teaches children how to develop courage and confidence even if they're limb different. Welcome to Bridges. I'm Monica Schmelter, and today we're going to take a look at a kids camp. It's called Nub Ability, and my guest is Sam Kuhnert, who founded this camp. And Sam, it's good to have you on Bridges.
Yes, thank you so much, Monica, for having me.
You know, Sam, I think we've all probably heard and, we see and understand the importance of children, developing courage and confidence through sports. And you've really done something unique. You've extended that, to those who are limb different. Tell me about that.
So the summer before my senior year of high school, I went to a camp for children with limb differences. And, whenever I was in high school, I had a freshman football coach who was limb different. And so I thought it was just me, him, and Jim Abbott. I thought we were the only ones.
The only three?
Yeah, I thought we were the only three on the planet. And so I get a call, and they had heard about me through different local news stories and stuff. And they're like, hey, would you like to come and teach our kids sports? I was like, well, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I didn't even know any other kids existed. So absolutely. And so I went on to this camp, and we're sitting around a little fire pit. And I'm looking at most of these kids, and some of them are missing their legs, but most of them have both feet and are missing a hand or missing an arm or something. And we're going around a circle, and it's like, hi, I'm Timmy, I play soccer. Hi, I'm Jimmy, I play soccer. And that trend just continued, and everyone just kept saying soccer. And now I'm an athlete, so my mind starts thinking like, okay, you have 2 feet. How is soccer really that challenging for you? And so it gets to me, and I'm like, hi, I'm Sam Kuhnert. I play baseball, basketball, football, track and field, hunt and fish. And like, you play soccer? I'm like, no, that's a sin where I'm from. It's like, I'm from a small town called DuQuoin, Illinois that's a football town. And so soccer is just, that's a sin. And so I get to talking to one of the parents of the kids, and I'm like, man, why is your child only being subjected to one sport? Why are they only being subjected to soccer? They're young. They need to be exposed to multiple sports. And she looks at me and she said, well, we feel like soccer is the place where they're going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to see our child fail in any other sports. And I started thinking, I'm like, wait, did you just say you don't want to see your child fail? I was like, well, how can you expect them to grow? It's like, because failure is a part of life. We have to fail in order to learn how to succeed.
Yeah.
Take, for instance, a baseball game. You have to get beat by a team in order to learn how you're going to beat them. Like, you have to face a batter, and if they hit a home run off you learn, okay, don't throw them that pitch again.
Yeah.
And so I approach life like it's sports. I mean, you have to fail in order to grow. It's just part of it. And so whenever I talked to her, and I just saw this fear of letting her child go out there and fail and go out there and grow, I was just like, man, I got to change this. And I knew it wasn't coming from me. I knew it was coming from God, that this is what he was laying on my heart. And so I got the kids away from their parents, and I ran them through some drills. And I was just like, taught them how to dribble and shoot a basketball, how to throw and catch a football, how to do a glove transfer with baseball. And just saw this raw God-given talent that was just being wasted because they were being forced into one sport, whereas they could thrive in many sports. And I was just like, man, I don't understand this. So I got into the car with my mom, and to describe who I was as a senior in high school, I was a C's, get degrees, make the grades to play the game. I wasn't super serious about my studies, but I was super serious about sports. Mm-hmm. And as we're riding along, I turned over to my mom, and I just knew it was like a God thing. And I was like, Mom, I want to start a camp for children born with limb differences and amputees to teach them to play mainstream organized sports, so they're competing against all the other kids and not just kids who look like them. I was like, and show these kids that they have the courage and confidence to go out there and compete and to own who they are and learn that they are created perfectly in God's image. And I'm pretty sure this was my mom's look. Yeah. when her sweaty 17-year-old son looks over at her and tells her that.
And you're a senior.
Yeah, senior in high school.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And so prior to this, really, if I'm understanding you, Sam, you really thought as far as limb differences went, because you're in a small town, it was you, I think your football coach, and one other person. Yep. So you go to this camp and you realize that, hey, there are lots of us, but I guess what I would wonder is, how did you learn to overcome and to deal with and to thrive in sports, especially if there wasn't anybody to teach you? Or
when I was first born, I'm pretty sure my dad was absolutely terrified that he's like, how am I going to teach my son how to play baseball? How am I going to teach my son how to hunt, how to fish, how to do all this? And a doctor actually told him, he's like, your son will show you. And so I went out and...
The doctor told your dad, your son will show you?
Yep.
Like, did he mean that you would just kind of figure it out as you went?
Absolutely. So
the doctor was, in a sense, giving your parents permission to let you try.
Yeah.
I'm a mom, and that's what I would think too. Okay, so if you don't have a limb, then I need to protect that. And I can understand where parents are coming from. So that's really neat that the doctor said your son will show you.
Oh, absolutely. And I honestly feel like it's because of Jim Abbott being out there and going and playing in the major leagues. But when he told me that, like, I think I was 9 months old is what my mom says, and I climbed a TV antenna. Yeah.
Like on a house?
Like on a house. Climbed a TV antenna.
Without permission, I'm thinking.
I'm sure. There's no doubt about that. They left me and my older brother playing out in the sandbox out in the yard, and I guess they went around the house, and all of a sudden they just heard my older brother screaming bloody murder, and they came around the house, and there I am climbing up the TV antenna. And that's when they were like, all right, he's going to be okay, but he's also going to be a little wild.
Yeah, and he's also maybe going to get in trouble right now. You can't do that, Sam.
Absolutely. Okay. And then so throughout my life, a lot of people always place doubts and perceptions on what I was capable of. But thanks to my mom always reading me scripture, whether it was whenever I was bullied at school or whether it was whenever I was cut from a team, she always kept feeding me the word and feeding me scripture to the point where I wrote Philippians 4:13 on every single sports equipment that I own, my helmet, my bat, my hat, my glove, everything, just to remind myself that I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me, because no matter what perceptions that people place on us, the only people who can decide what we're capable of is God and ourselves.
Yes.
And so whenever I found that out, like, at an early age, I mean, of course, there was hardships. I mean, I was cut for my 6th and 7th grade baseball team. I went through the handshake lines after a basketball game, and kids refused to shake my hand because of my limb difference. I mean, there was a lot of different hardships. I was bullied, but whenever I learned to really own my difference and own that I was created perfectly, none of that really mattered.
That's absolutely amazing to me. So much of it is that you had this mom who was just tenacious with her faith, who kept feeding you and giving you the word. And she kept supporting you in what you were doing rather than telling you, let's just shirk back. Because, Sam, if you think about it, lots of kids get cut from sports teams.
Absolutely.
Even that are not limb different. It's just that it's that added thing when you are limb different, or at least it would seem that would be the stigma or the perception. I would love it if you'd expand on maybe just a little bit the bullying, because so many people watching, I know your children, your grandchildren, people are bullied, and what we want to do is pull our kids out of that, protect our kids, and I get that. I would want to do the same thing. And yet, somehow between that and teaching our children how to deal and how to respond, tell me what that was like for you.
Well, every day it's a growing process. It's like anything else in life. You learn as you go. As a kid, I was bullied every single day, all the way up till probably high school. I mean, there was at least an instance of bullying
every day that you went to school.
Every day.
Was it just other students, or did you ever hear things from adults?
It was a little bit of mixture of both. I mean, you would hear adults. I mean, like I said, growing up, everybody didn't think I'd be good enough to play at the next level, whether that was in baseball, whether that was coach's pitch, kids pitch onto little league, and going all the way up into high school. People always were like, well, this is his last year playing, and I would hear that, and it would drive me. I mean, I listened to all the doubt and everything that everybody told me, and I just turned it into fuel to prove them wrong, because I knew that I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and that I could own who I was. And so with the bullying, it was a process. I'm a national youth activist. I go around and teach how to become bully proof, is what I call it.
I love that. How to be bully proof.
How to be bully
I
proof.
love that.
Absolutely. And so the first step to becoming bully proof is to own who you are. Now, because whenever you own who you are, you got to think a bully is always looking to attack your difference. They're always looking to find what you're self-conscious about and what can get a reaction from you. And they tend to just poke and prod at that until they can get that reaction. And so to become bully proof, whenever you really own who you are, it's not really going to affect you. You're not going to give them that reaction. Now, step 2 is to practice confidence. Because think about it this way, you're not going to own who you are overnight. That's a process in itself. I mean, it takes years and years. I like to compare it again to baseball. It's like taking a ball off the body. You're trying to learn how to take a hot grounder. You're going to take more hits to the body than you are into the glove before you finally get it. And so whenever you practice that confidence, you go out there and you tell yourself, hey, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is how he made me. This, God is seen as the image of perfection. And it's said in the Bible that we're fearfully and wonderfully made and that we are made in God's image. So if God is seen as perfection, then we are created perfectly.
Amen. And
so once you finally get that process and you get that you're owning yourself and you're owning your difference, then step 3 is to go out and encourage others to do the same thing. Go out there and encourage them that, hey, you were created perfectly. You can do exactly what you want to do with your life. Only God and you can determine what you're capable of. And God has this vision for your life that you don't even see yet. And, I've been very lucky in my life, very blessed to have been able to discover my purpose at such a young age.
Absolutely. And you're able to share that. We're at a place that we're going to take just a small break, Sam, and I want to give people just a look at some video that you brought with you at Camp Numbability. So we want you to stay with us. We're going to have you take this look at Camp Numbability and how children that are limb different are learning to develop that courage and that confidence through sports, even if people are telling them you could never do that. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome to Numbability!
No, I don't need to know I can beat you. You know you're gonna need to, or else you're going to lose. I know I don't need to know I can beat you. You know you're gonna need to, or else you're going to lose. No, and I don't need to. I take a breath and breathe through all the stress and evil. We're all just different people. Stop making up excuses. You don't want to challenge me, fool. Step onto the court and watch how fast I take the lead, dude. With speed, too. Numbability is the crew. Sam Kuhnert reaching heights that no one else has ever reached to because he never quit. Trying to thread the needle, and when he steps up to the mound, you know he's pitching heat. Woo! I know I don't need to know I can beat you. You know you're gonna need to, or else you're going to lose. I know I don't need to know I can beat you. You know you're gonna need to, or else you're going to lose. I know I don't need to. You know you're going to lose. Up in Numbability, athletics and agility. Welcome to the camp of perseverance and tranquility. We believe that you can be anything you have the will to be. Believe in yourself. In any competition you'll defeat, you could become a legend. Like Bo Jackson or Pistol Pete. And should you take a loss, you gotta brush it off and still compete. Keep building your talents day and night and even in your sleep. Dreams become reality if you reach within, go really deep. I have no excuses, I don't need to always on repeat. No matter what the challenge be, just don't give up and never cheat. Sam Kuhnert never did, cause giving up is too easy. I'm happy that he didn't, cause he found it Numbability. A camp where we make friends who never limit capabilities. And if you're feeling shy, I hope our coaches make you feel at ease, or help bring out your inner beast. I hope you really feel this beat. I give it all I got, and I'm bringing all my energy.
You can purchase a copy of today's show for $15. Call us at 615-754-0039 or send a check to the address on the screen. Please mention the program number on the screen.
Well, that was a look at some of the sports and activities at Camp Numbability, and I'm so glad that we have this opportunity to bring this to you today so that you can see how children that are limb different are able to develop courage and confidence through sports, and sports maybe that we might not have ever thought that they would be able to try and even succeed at. So Sam, I'm just so enjoying hearing your personal story and that story of faith and how your parents taught you, to try things and that God would be your helper through all of that. So tell me kind of, we've talked about how the camp idea came to you and some of your personal experiences. What was college like for you?
So high school, let's go into high school first. So high school, as a freshman, I probably played a handful of times. And they always threw me against the teams that we were guaranteed to get beat by, but I ended up beating them. And I was a 3-sport athlete all the way through high school, despite people telling me that every year you wouldn't be able to play at the next level, whether that be junior varsity to varsity. And I mean, even with like the conditioning and stuff you have to do as an athlete, they were always like so skeptical that there was no way I could do it. When by the time I was a senior in high school, I was one of the strongest in the schools. I had one of the highest bench presses, which is crazy to think, and it's probably not the safest way to bench press. Don't try this at home, kids. But
you did it.
But I did it, yeah. And so my senior year, like I was throwing the ball really hard. I had a really good junior year of baseball. I had a really good senior summer. And I had finally gotten some calls from colleges, and that was my dream. My dream was to go play college baseball. Like that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go play college baseball. I wanted to go coach college baseball. That was my all-time dream. And so, like the fall of my senior year, I get a phone call, and it's from Greenville College, which is Greenville University now, out of Greenville, Illinois. And they said, "Hey, we'd love for you to come take a visit to our campus." I was like, "Absolutely!" I knew that if it was God's will, that it would be done. And so I get to this campus and I go through the tour and I'm just like loving it. I'm like, man, this is an awesome place. It's Christ-filled. It's just an amazing place. And the coach comes to my office and he pulls his chair close and he kind of gives me one of these like looks where you're like, uh-oh, did I step on the wrong patch of grass or something? Like what's going on? And he goes, "Sam, you are the type of leader that we look for in this program. You have the mentality that we look for in an athlete. Mm-hmm. But we're not quite sure that you're physically capable of playing at this level." And then, like in my mind, I was thinking, wow, you brought me an hour and a half, 2 hours away to tell me this. You could told me this over the phone.
Well, yeah, I mean, they made you come. They set up your expectation
Absolutely.
That, hey, this is possibly going to happen.
Yeah.
I would just think that you would just be absolutely like dashed at that point.
Probably someone else in my situation would have been, but with all I've been through life, with really facing that adversity and wanting to prove everyone wrong, whoever doubted me, it was just like, all right, I'll see you in the spring. It's kind of what my
good for you.
What my mind was telling me. And so I went out and I worked really hard. I put in all the work and effort because, nothing comes easy in life. You'll have to put in work in order to receive a blessing, but blessings never come in inopportune moments. And so it comes spring of my senior year, I'm throwing the ball really well, and the coach calls and said, "Hey, are you ready to sign yet?" I was like, "Yes." Now to back up to my junior year of high school, I went to my pitching coach and told him my dreams and aspirations of playing at the college level. And I said, "Coach, I'm throwing the ball really hard. I think I can actually make my dreams happen. What do you think?" And he goes, "Well, Sammy, you throw the ball pretty hard, but there's not very many one-handed baseball players in college baseball, and I just feel like these are your last 4 years." And to have a coach, someone who's supposed to encourage you, bolster you up, and really just try to help you achieve those dreams, tell you that it's not possible. I mean, that hurt, but instantly, like, he made my list. And so whenever I got that call to sign with Greenville College at the time, I asked him to be in my signing picture, because now he forever knows that the kid who doubted him proved him wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was just kind of
good for you. I love that.
It was a little bit of fun. I will admit I was smiling in that picture extra big.
Yes.
But then coming into like the summer before college, I started getting a little wild. Started doing stuff that younger me would have looked at and discussed, and really carried that on into my fall year, which is crazy, seeing how I was going into a Christian college, how I was doing things that weren't considered Christian. And I remember I was just running wild, but I was also in the best shape of my life because I was going through a college baseball program. I was making great grades. I mean, I was doing everything well other than my activities and stuff.
The bad decisions.
Yeah, the bad
that you were
decisions,
making.
absolutely. And so the fall of my my freshman year of college, I actually got the opportunity to go to a World Series game with my grandpa. And we went to go watch the St. Louis Cardinals because been a St. Louis Cardinal fan since I was little. And we went and saw this awesome World Series Game 6, and it was amazing. They were playing the Texas Rangers. Came back the next day to the city to Game 7 to really experience what it's like to win that World Series. And then the next day I woke up and I couldn't pick myself up off my bed. I was so dizzy and nauseous and just couldn't do it. And I was running out.
Was that from a bad decision that you had made, or you were just physically sick?
Physically sick. It was weird.
So it was like overnight, really.
It was overnight.
You went from being perfectly healthy
to really sick. Really sick. I was running 102 fever, and so my father, who's a big farmer, comes and picks me up and has to carry me up a flight of stairs out to the car. They drive me to Carbondale Community Hospital, which is the local hospital around, and they admit me with a dangerously enlarged liver and spleen. Now, in my time in Carbondale, I ran 106 fever, all the way up to 106 fevers. I had the most violent shakes, violent chills that I've ever had in my life. Super nauseous. I lost 20 pounds in a week. They couldn't figure out what was going on with me. They were testing me for everything.
That sounds like you were critically ill.
I was, and they were testing me for everything. Couldn't find out what was going on. So the last day I was there, or the day before the last day I was there, they did a lymph node biopsy. And so they sent that biopsy off to St. Jude's, off to Mayo Clinic, off to the different various hospitals out there. And they came back. And so they decided to ship me off to St. Louis University Hospital to get help from some experts, see if they could figure out what was going on with me, because I just wasn't getting better. And so they shipped me off to St. Louis, and we get there, and my mom's phone rings, and my mom drops to her knees. And then she whispers something to my dad, and my dad drops to his knees. Now, my dad is a big, burly farm man. He's a banker in our hometown, tough as nails. I've never seen him cry. At that point, I'd never seen him cry in my entire life. And to watch my dad cry, I knew there wasn't good news on that other line. And so they told me that I had acute multilymphatic Castleman's disease. And my mom and my aunt, who came from Florida to visit me, looked it up, and it said a few weeks to a few months to live when you're diagnosed with this. Now, I'm 19 years old. I just got my dream of playing college baseball, and it's like, it's already over. Like, I'm not going to get to be an uncle. I'm not going to get to be a dad. I'm not going to get to go out there and have my college debut. Like, it's like, this can't be it, you know? I'm laying there in bed, and I'm just thinking about all the things I did wrong and everybody who I had wrong. So I picked up my phone and I started texting everybody, because, of course, texting is the most popular communication with people my age. And so I started texting everybody who I ever felt like I did wrong, whether I felt like I had bullied in some way or I had just crossed in a wrong way, and just apologizing, just full-on heartfelt apologies, and just letting them know that I'm truly sorry and that I wish I could take back everything I had done. And I remember laying in bed about the third night I was there, and with these violent chills, and I was saying like the Lord's Prayer, because I always felt comfort with that as a kid. Like if I go hunting whenever I was little and it was like really dark outside and you never know what's out there, I'd say the Lord's Prayer as I was walking, because it just kind of gave me a little comfort. And so I started saying the Lord's Prayer, and then I really just started asking God. I was like, look, God, I know I've done a lot of things wrong, and I realized that. Said, but I really want to be with you. If I'm supposed to go, I want to be with you. And if you will grant me a second chance, I promise to live a life to serve you and not myself, and to serve others and not myself. And so that night, my campus, they had a full-on prayer visual, and it was really crazy and humbling, because they recorded it and they sent it to me, and 3 people came back to Christ that night through the prayer visual of me, because people had heard about what I was trying to do with Knowability and everything, but they didn't know my personal life, because I didn't put it out there for everybody. And laying there, whenever God I guess he heard my prayer, because the next
Amen.
day,
And you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here. The next day I wake up and I'm already down. I'm down 40 pounds. My numbers and everything are horrible. And then comes the next day, I'm pink. I'm normal. I'm not jaundiced. Like
Life
I was
is
at
coming
yeah,
back.
I was at a point where you could see every lymph node in my body. Like every lymph node that was there, you could see them in my legs, you could see them in my arms, my neck, like everything. Like I looked like a monster. It was bad, but I mean, I can't explain it. The doctors couldn't explain it. Nobody could explain the change. So of course they had to diagnose you with something, because you can't leave a hospital till you have a diagnosis.
Right.
So my diagnosis was conclusive, but not indicative of mononucleosis, because that was the closest that they could have done.
You know, you had just started out this college career in sports. And so tell me about that and how you're in Camp Nubbability now. How did that transition?
So I went on and I got to play my season. I got to have my college debut, and then we went and we had our first camp the summer after my freshman year, and we had 19 kids come from all over the country to Greenville, Illinois, another small town, to be coached by 7 accomplished different athletes as their coaches. And fast forward to now, it's grown to 156 kids from 42 different states, 2 outside the country, to be coached by over 80 accomplished different athletes as their coaches, to a small town of 6,500 people. And that's just the limb different kids. If you include their siblings and parents, I mean, it's 600 people. But I mean, at that camp with 19, I realized that's what God wanted me to do with my life. I realized that was my purpose. And, you know, I went on, I played a year at Northland College following that, and then I went on to coach 2 years of college baseball as a pitching coach. And I got to do that all while I was finishing up my degree in business administration. And I went and I got a desk job right after college. I was thinking, you know, I needed something where I could support the foundation. And I went and I became an insurance agent, and I did it for a year. And God just came to me. He's like, look, I didn't give you this story to sit behind a desk. And I was like, fair enough. You know? And so I went on, and I'm doing motivational speaking now. I take my program Bully Proof across the nation, trying to help kids, you know, just own who they are and get that target off their back.
Yeah. And you're also writing a book.
I am writing a book. We'll hopefully be able to release it soon. It's going to be called Game Changer: 10 Habits to Live a Life of Impact. And it's just, I mean, it's been a huge blessing. Yeah. It's just a blessing to be here.
Yeah. Well, because you almost weren't.
Yeah.
With whatever that illness was, I know that it couldn't have possibly been mono, but it's like you were born with what people would say a limb difference, this challenge, and yet due to your parents' faith and your hard work, now you're with Camp Nubbability. People are coming from all over.
It's all God. You know, I wish I could take credit for it, but you know, I like to live by a motto that life's like an airplane. You know, I'm sitting in the cockpit while God's got it on autopilot.
And He's got it all. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for coming, Sam,
Thank you
and
so
for
much,
sharing
Monica.
your
I appreciate
story.
it.
We are out of time. We'll have all of this information up on the website so that you can learn more about Sam, his story, and Camp Nubbability. We've got to go. We say goodbye, and God bless you.
For more information on a guest, visit our website, ctntv.org.